I don't have to tell you that the world is peppered with plastic, and that this is a bad thing. I don't have to explain that plastic can kill wildlife in many ways, or that it takes 450 years for a grocery bag to decompose. I do want to explain that there may be a way to start tackling this issue faster. Precious Plastics, a company founded by Dave Hakken, seeks to decentralize the recycling process of plastic and turn a profit doing so. Hackens has been in intense R&D for his business since 2013, growing a team, capital, and inventory at every step. I've done ample experimentation of my own, and I am living proof that Hackens' model can be recreated by anyone. I'll explain the process of the precious plastic machinery from shredding, melting, extruding to finally the Bazaar, and how to become absorbed in this dense network. First, the plastic trash is shredded into granules about a quarter of an inch in diameter. Using an ominous box of spinning gears, an operator throws waste in to be pulverized. There is a small mesh at the bottom that acts as a not until device, with holes that only shredding smaller than a quarter inch can fit through. Since the entire precious plastics project is open source, makers across the world immediately took to finding cheaper and more efficient ways to make Hacken's shredder. This foreshadows the Bazaar, our last yet constant step of the process. The shreddings make for a colorful decoration in a clear container, but we're far from our end product. The granules are melted down into a liquid with the consistency of bubblegum. This process varies greatly depending on the chemical makeup of the plastic. It can be gently warmed in a tube that, by use of an Archimedes coil, guides the bubblegum toward an extruder. It can be unevenly, yes, melted in an oven. It's important to note that the chemical makeup of the plastic, as all plastics, have a very different melting point. Polyvinyl chloride, for example, or plumbing material, is far too toxic to ever melt. Polystyrene, or a ramen noodle cup, makes a lovely explosive. The bubble gum is about 450 degrees Fahrenheit typically. It would be impractical to ask a person to mold it like clay or to shove it into molds. Therefore, the operators likely cannot see the bubble gum, which means that this dangerous task is difficult to monitor. The Archimedes coil Hackens preferred has a flaw: irregularity. The bubblegum forms lumps in the screw, and the density is at risk of variation, giving your end result possible weak points. 7 years of melting and pouring onto the floor to test have helped Hackens engineer a more uniform bubblegum. But you can't chew it, so put it in a mold or something. This is forbidden bubblegum. After melting the plastic, it's extruded in a line like hot glue or a 3D printer. The Archimedes coil is directly attached to an extruder, a cone with a small hole in its tip to give the bubblegum one last compression. From here, it can extrude into a mold, make structures spiderweb style, or hopefully someday fuel a 3D printer. I'm sure somebody on the Bazaar is working on that. But the most practical thing to do with your extruded stream is to inject it and compress it with an injection mold. A steel negative of your end product is connected to the extruder and is filled with molten Home Depot buckets, molten milk buckets, and anything else that, in this example, could be considered high-density polyethylene. After it cools, you're left with your product. Is it a building material, or a plate, or a massive Lego to build a house out of? It's up to you. The beauty of this process is the personality, the necessity, the possibility. It's possible this underdog business makes a true impact thanks to the product in your hand. Or you can make a sheet, like plywood, that resembles a granite countertop, can be polished but not painted, and can be manipulated with most woodworking tools. It's fair but heavier than wood, keep in mind. But all of this is meaningless if the operator cannot turn a profit. Finally, the product is sold oftentimes on the Bazaar. I've hinted at the Bazaar multiple times now with very little explanation. The Bazaar is very similar to eBay, except specifically for the precious plastic universe. Here you can purchase finished products, but that's just a portion of what makes this so monumental. You can also buy every piece of the puzzle, including shreddings, shredders, parts to a shredder, or even plans to make a better shredder. The plywood resembling slabs are here too, providing the most practicality and ease of creation. The site brings the whole world closer together, and it's fueled by its own growth. Say you send your shreddings to a small melting facility in Hong Kong, and they send jumbo Lego bricks to a remote third world country. This makes a difference on so many levels. As the Bazaar gains more popularity, it exponentially gains creative power. Avatar fans, makers, and businesses are united to push each other, to make more, to fix problems, to profit. It'd be expensive to open an entire trash to profit facility, so it makes sense to divide the cost, materials, profits, and expenditures with your peers across the world. Precious Plastics has created a model to follow to recycle plastic and then some. As the community grows, it's difficult to know how crucial this business could be. The shredded plastic is melted, extruded, and then sold on the Bazaar. However, the Bazaar can be involved in every step of the process, as it's a revolutionary hub of creativity and economy, a place to sell creative salvation. Innovation is at this point in the hands of the desperate, and humanity needs this now more than ever. Plastic is pollution, this is common knowledge. But how do we dig ourselves out of this mess? Well, that's up to the Precious Plastics Bazaar. Thank you.